Hey everybody, this is my 20 long open topped office tank, and I was looking at it today and something just seemed odd to me. I couldn't quite put my finger on it for a few moments, and then I noticed, look at my temple plant. It's growing all crooked, and it's growing all crooked because it's kind of fallen over. And I'm not entirely sure what is going on here. I thought at first possibly some of these new roots growing had pushed this way and sort of pushed the whole thing over. But I don't really think that's the case. That's generally not how roots work. They, like a new shoot, will push its way up through soil and push stuff out of the way. But generally when roots grow, they don't push up against stuff. They burrow down into it. And if anything, they would get down, between the rocks, and they might separate the rocks and push the rocks apart and everything. But they're not going to push the plant away from its moorings. So I think what's going on is now that we're getting a recovery of the plant. For a while it was really struggling. It lost all of its leaves and everything. And now I've got a recovery, and it's nice and green. It's growing again, and I've got little flower buds all over it. You can see all those little purple flowers. Well, all of these little things are still developing flower buds that haven't yet gotten there. But every moment that we stand here, every breath that I take, I'm giving that thing more carbon dioxide, and it's getting bigger and it's growing heavier. And I think that's exactly what happened. It just simply fell over sideways from the weight that it's putting on. So I'm going to do what I did before, which was to stand it up. And I mean, that gives you an idea of how sideways it had fallen. It was growing up towards the light like that. So I'm going to probably try to stand it up about like this. In fact, I can even use that right there and just kind of get a clothespin or something, and that'll be that. Or I can possibly take a little piece of string and tie it in place. I don't have enough of a gravel bed to really stick like a plant stake down in. That's the problem. Obviously, the plant's falling over, so if I tried to put a plant stake in there, I think the same thing would happen. But that's what we've got going on. I mean, it's grown up and sideways at this point, so it'll be interesting to watch it straighten back up once I get it stood back up. So now that I've figured out that that needs to be addressed, I've also looked at the tank. It needs to have its water level topped off, and instead of topping it off, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do a water change. So we'll just go ahead and make this a before and after water change video. And you can see I've got, once again, a reduced flow of water, and you can see that we don't have a clogged up intake filter, at least not from the external point of view. I don't have a bunch of plants and crud and stuff all over the filter intake. So what I've probably got going on is more crud and stuff growing inside the filter, namely right where the impeller comes out. That's where you get your most restriction. So even a little bit of stuff starts collecting in there, and it really starts restricting the flow of water. So I have been dealing with a little bit of white water mold growing in this filter, and that's probably what's going on in there. So I'll just pull that off, rinse it out with some hot water, and after the water change, we'll have good, vigorous water flow again. I'm also going to check the nitrates. Last time I checked them in this tank, it was, I don't know, it feels like it hasn't been very long since we did a water change here, maybe a week ago, and the nitrates were probably sitting right around or just under 40 parts per million. So I would imagine they're going to be even lower than that tonight. But let me get started with it. Consider this part your before. And there's your after. So I really don't feel like we got a lot to talk about on the back side of this video. I just did what I said I was going to do, a simple water change. I did clean out the filter intake. It was indeed a little bit cruddy. Some of it might have been a little bit of that white water mold, but a lot of it just looked like the kind of growth you get that develops inside of a filter, and you just got to get in there and clean that stuff out every now and again. And the last time I did it, I just kind of did a halfway job of it and didn't really clean it out. I just kind of gave it a good sort of shaking as I rinsed it, and it knocked a bunch of the stuff loose and opened it up. But today I really got in there with some really hot water and thoroughly cleaned it out. Well, I didn't get a brush or anything, but I got it wide open. I can see clearly through it, and now we've got plenty of water flow again. My plant, you already saw me stand it upright, but now I officially have it fastened into place. Just a simple piece of tape, piece of fishing line, taped to the back and looped around the stem of the plant one time just so that it can't go this way or that way. And that should hold it in place. And the roots, maybe this one goes all the way over there. Maybe I can take that root and tuck it down in here or something and help to get it established that way. That might help it out a little bit. The other thing we wanted to look at was the nitrates. And I know it never really comes out on camera quite the way it does to my eye, especially under this soft 2700K light. It tends to give it a little more of a reddish glow. But this is actually less red than the last time I did a water change. So we've got less nitrates in the tank now than we did a week ago or whenever I did my previous water change. So we're still sitting near, but as of yet, I'm still going to say under 40 parts per million on the nitrates. And again, there's a reason I keep talking about the nitrates. If you haven't followed along from the beginning, it's because I've heard many people over the years say that these German blue rams are highly sensitive to nitrates, and we're basically trying to find out whether that's true or not. We are now over 5 months. I think we're pushing 6 months in, and I did have one little instance of an injury or something. Something caused one of this ram's eyes to get all swollen and popping out of its head, but I was able to successfully treat the fish and get it back into looking good and healthy. And other than that, I haven't had any issues with it. It does have a sort of spot right on the upper portion of its caudal peduncle, the little part of the fish right before it gets to the tail fin. That last little bit of muscle, if you look at the very top of it, right in front of the tail fin, you will see what looks like a lump or something under the surface of the skin. I've been watching it and watching it and watching it, and I don't know what it is. It's either like a cyst that's growing under the skin, or it's just a different colored mark on the fish. I don't really know what it is, but I'm no longer worried about it. It's not growing or changing or getting any bigger. It's probably just part of how the fish looks. You can kind of see it there. It's just a slightly lighter, more discolored spot right... Well, you can see my reflection better than you'll be able to see my finger. He's got to turn sideways again for us. But you get the idea. You know where I'm talking about. Right in front of the base of its fin, you can see where it's a little bit more lightly colored. That, to me, almost looks like it's some kind of cyst, or I'm reluctant to use the word tumor. But I don't know. Again, it hasn't changed. It hasn't gotten any bigger. It's not doing anything. It doesn't seem to affect the fish. So I'm not worried about it. But it is something that I've noticed. It is something worth pointing out. And other than that, again, no issues whatsoever. And my nitrates are regularly up over 40 parts per million in this tank. In fact, the last 2 water changes I've done where the nitrates have been so low has been sort of unusually low for me. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that this plant's recovering. And now that it's growing again, it's drawing some of those nutrients out of the water. And it's helping to keep the tank a little bit lower on the nitrate end of it. So the last point I want to make is not about this tank at all. It is actually about my angelfish tank that's in the basement. I am treating it for cyanobacteria again, and I wanted to have a little conversation about that. So that was the video I was going to shoot tonight, but I did not get around to it. I wound up getting caught up doing this instead, and so look forward real soon to me shooting a video talking about cyanobacteria, the ChemiClean product that I use and talk about so much, and why I use it so much, and why I talk about it so much, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to have a little discussion about that. And of course, we'll be doing the update on the angelfish tank as I treat it for the cyanobacteria. I deliberately left it in big sheets. I was asked by a few people why I didn't get most of it out and then treat it, which would be the normal way to do it. You try to get as much of it out of the tank as you can, and then you put the treatment in. And in this case, I left it the way it was deliberately because the way the cyanobacteria was growing in sheets across the bottom, it gave it a very carpeted visual effect. And once we treat it, and you can see how it dies off, that sort of before and after visual effect is going to make a bold statement. And that's what I'm going for. I did that strictly for demonstration purposes, not that that is the way I would have actually done it in the tank. I did that just so that we can get a good look at what a drastic difference it makes in the before and after. So look forward to that. I will be sitting down in front of the camera and discussing my use of ChemiClean and why I like it so much and why I seem to use it so much. And I will let you know that I do not use it anywhere near as much as you think I do. It only seems like I use it as much as you think I do, but I don't really use it as much as that. And again, we'll get into some details about that, and we'll start talking about all of that good stuff in an upcoming video. So make sure you're subscribed, and you won't miss that or anything else. And don't forget, of course, this one here is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank. So thanks for watching this one. See you real soon in the next one.